ETL pipeline design for SMBs, unify your data in Power BI. Welcome back. Today's topic is ETL pipeline design for SMBs, unify your data in Power BI. We'll cover what you actually need to know about ETL pipeline design. Next up, what ETL pipeline design actually means for SMBs. ETL pipeline design is the process of defining how raw data moves from your source systems, gets cleaned and shaped, and lands in a destination your BI tool can query. For most SMBs, the destination is either Power BI's built-in data model or a SQL database that Power BI connects to. The name makes it sound more complicated than it is. You're essentially answering three questions. Where does my data live right now? What needs to happen to it before it's useful for reporting? Where should it land so Power BI can read it fast and reliably? A basic ETL pipeline design for a 20-person SMB with 3 data sources can be set up in a weekend. A more sophisticated setup handling 5 or more sources with real-time refresh and complex transformations might take a few weeks. The gap between those two scenarios is mostly about data volume and transformation rules, not the tools themselves. Let's talk about moving on to the Microsoft tools that handle ETL for Power BI. Microsoft Stack has several options for ETL pipeline design, and picking the wrong one wastes time. Here's what each tool is actually for. Azure Data Factory is the standard choice for most SMBs who need reliable, scheduled data movement between cloud and on-premises sources. It connects to over 90 source types natively, including Dynamics 365, SQL Server, Salesforce, and REST APIs. ADF handles extraction and loading well, and its data flows feature handles transformation without writing code. According to Microsoft's official Azure Data Factory documentation, it supports both batch and near real-time pipeline runs, making it flexible enough for most SMB scenarios. Power Query handles transformation logic for simpler setups. If you have 3 or fewer data sources and don't need a separate staging database, Power Query can handle the entire ETL pipeline design inside Power BI itself. The limit is performance. Power Query runs at report refresh time, which gets slow when row counts exceed a few 100,000. Now, next up, how to design an ETL pipeline for Power BI, step by step. A practical ETL pipeline design follows these stages in order. 1. Inventory your data sources. List every system that holds data you want in Power BI. Include the source type, update frequency, and estimated row count per key table. This takes about 2 hours and prevents a lot of surprises later. 2. Define your data model. Work backwards from the questions your Power BI reports need to answer, then identify which fields you actually need. Most SMBs pull too much data initially and then wonder why refresh times are slow. Next up, now, ETL versus ELT for Power BI, which approach works better? This distinction matters more than many SMB guides acknowledge. ETL transforms data before it reaches the destination. ELT loads raw data first and transforms it inside the destination database. For Power BI specifically. For most SMBs under 200 employees, ETL is the right default. Data volumes at that scale don't justify a full data warehouse, and keeping transformations in ADF or Power Query is easier to maintain without a dedicated data engineering team. Now, common ETL pipeline mistakes SMBs make. These are the patterns that reliably cause problems across Microsoft Stack implementations. Connecting Power BI directly to production databases. This is the most common mistake. Every report refresh puts red load on the database your business operations depend on. During peak hours, this slows both the database and the report. A staging layer solves it. Skipping documentation of transformation logic. 3 months after building the pipeline, nobody remembers why a particular field is calculated the way it is. When the source system changes, the pipeline breaks and nobody can fix it quickly. A simple data dictionary with 1 row per transformation rule takes a few hours to write and saves days of debugging later. Now, next up, what does an Azure ETL pipeline cost for SMBs? The cost question has a more concrete answer than most vendors give. Here's a realistic breakdown for a typical SMB ETL pipeline design on Azure. These numbers assume a mid-size SMB with 3 to 6 data sources, nightly batch refresh, and up to 10 Power BI users. More frequent refresh intervals or higher data volumes push ADF costs up. Near real-time pipelines running on 15-minute windows can cost $200 to $500 per month for ADF alone, depending on activity count. For SMBs already on Microsoft 365, Power BI Pro is often already in the budget. The real new spend is typically just ADF and the staging database, which most teams can run for under $150 per month to start. Now, next up, building your first ETL pipeline without a data engineer. Most SMBs don't have a dedicated data engineer, and that's a workable situation. Here's what you actually need to pull off a first ETL pipeline design project. A developer or technically capable analyst who knows SQL. ADF's Visual Pipeline Builder handles most extraction and loading. The Data Flows feature in ADF covers common transformations without code. What requires SQL knowledge is writing the staging schema and any complex business rules in the transform layer. Clear ownership of source system credentials and schemas. The most common delay in ETL pipeline projects isn't the pipeline itself. It's waiting for someone to hand over a Dynamics 365 service account and the schema documentation for the custom SQL tables. Resolve this before the build phase starts. Next up, let's talk about conclusion. ETL pipeline design doesn't have to be an enterprise project. For SMBs on the Microsoft stack, the combination of Azure Data Factory for orchestration, Azure SQL Database for staging, and Power BI for reporting handles the majority of real-world reporting needs without a dedicated data team. Start with your 2 or 3 most important data sources, build a basic pipeline that runs nightly, validate the numbers against your source systems, and expand from there. The biggest risk isn't choosing the wrong pipeline architecture. It's continuing to run reports from manually exported spreadsheets while the decision to start keeps getting pushed to next quarter. A straightforward ETL pipeline design, built and running in a few weeks, delivers more value than a perfect architecture that never gets built. If you're ready to connect your data sources to Power BI and want a team that knows the Microsoft stack inside out, we're here to help you scope it out and get it done right.